It's Elizabeth Warren and Mike Pence battling it out in another political excess 2024 presidential matchup. And I believe this one was requested to me, so we're going to dive right in. But first I'll say that Elizabeth Warren, she's coming from the progressive side of things, not necessarily exactly like Bernie Sanders. Some people do find her personality to be relatable and pleasing. I don't think it's up to that level, in my opinion. I can see some people thinking she is off-putting. Mike Pence on the other side of it, I also understand people that say he's off-putting. And Pence is pretty much establishment at this point. A lot of the Trump base is mad at him. And Pence really strikes me as more like the traditional, conservative, standard type of Republicans we saw in the 80s, 90s, maybe even into the 2000s. He was governor of Indiana. He does have some experience. Of course, he was vice president. I thought he did fine in the vice presidential debate against Kamala Harris. But I think his policy positions are going to be weaker. Some cultural stuff he'll do better on. Elizabeth Warren, she has experience in the U.S. Senate. She'll have some good populist economic appeal. Some of the cultural stuff, I think that's going to be her weakness. But let's get started here and real quickly go through the states. And the first state is Alaska. That will be safe over 10 points for Mike Pence. Hawaii, very safe for Elizabeth Warren. Back up to the West Coast, Washington, Oregon, California. Those are blue states, over 10 points safe for Warren. How about Nevada? This is kind of a purple state, and this matchup, I think Warren would be a little bit stronger. She would win it by 2 to 4 points, leans for Warren. Idaho and Utah, safe for Pence. Arizona, it used to be a red state. It's drifted toward the left. It's more establishment. Mike Pence would have done well here 10 or 20 years ago. In this matchup, I don't see him getting the turnout, and Elizabeth Warren would win it by a tilt margin. Montana, Wyoming, safe for Pence. Colorado, double digits, safe for Warren. New Mexico, that'll be likely for Warren. North Dakota, South Dakota, safe for Pence. Nebraska at large, safe for Pence. The 2nd District, that is the Omaha District, and that will be leans for Warren. Kansas, safe for Pence. Oklahoma, Elizabeth Warren was born here, but I don't see that getting under 10 at all. Safe for Pence. How about in Texas? I think Pence would get out enough evangelicals in places in the South, including Texas. Elizabeth Warren, she would do well in Travis County, as well as some of the suburbs, but I still think the margin will be over 5 points, likely for Pence. Up to Minnesota, that will be mid to high single digits, likely for Warren. Iowa, that'll be over 5 points, likely for Pence. Missouri, Arkansas, Louisiana, safe for Pence. Up to Wisconsin, that'll be probably low single digits, leans for Warren. Illinois, that'll be over 10, safe for Warren. Michigan, that'll be probably 4 to 5 points, leans for Warren. Indiana, that would be Mike Pence's home state. That's going to be an easy safe for Pence. Kentucky, Tennessee, Mississippi, and Alabama, all safe for Pence. How about down in Florida? Elizabeth Warren, she'd probably be viewed as a socialist. That could cost her even more points in Florida, but I really don't see Mike Pence activating enough of the Republican, especially the Trump voters, that he needs to. I have it as a leans for Pence. You might want to go likely. I can understand that, but I have it probably right at about 5 points. Let's go up to Georgia. This is a state trending away from the Republicans. Mike Pence would have won here easily 10, 15 years ago. The suburbs around Atlanta, I don't think they're going to come back much for Pence. There would be voters that'd be willing to give him a chance because he's not as polarizing as Donald Trump, but I think the Warren people would be more excited, and she would win it by a very narrow tilt margin. South Carolina, safe for Pence. North Carolina, leans for Pence. Up to Ohio, that'll still crack 5 points, likely for Pence. West Virginia, safe for Pence. Up to the Northeast into Maine at large, that will get over 10 points, low double digits, safe for Warren. The 1st District, very safe for Warren. The 2nd District, that is the redder district. I don't think Pence is really the kind of guy for that district, but it has gone away from the Democrats enough to where I think Pence would still win it by a tilt margin. Maybe he wins it by 2 or 3, but I put it at a tilt. New Hampshire, it's not going to be a great state for Pence. Warren would win here by a likely margin. Now we come to the blue states. Vermont, New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. Those are all safe for Warren. Pennsylvania, that is probably going to be another 4 to 5 points, leans for Warren. And finally, the last state is Virginia, and that is going to go to Warren by a likely margin. And there's your map. That's 235 for Mike Pence, 303 for Elizabeth Warren. Warren does win this election. And as I said, I think Elizabeth Warren would be stronger on some populist economics. Mike Pence would probably be stronger on some populist cultural issues from the right. He just does not have the right kind of personality that's going to excite anybody. He's kind of bland, he's kind of boring, he's kind of predictable. If Elizabeth Warren avoids most of the polarizing cultural left issues, then I think she would have a lot of success in this election. I don't think this would be a complete landslide. I think Pence would win enough of these states. He'd be competitive in several more, but it's hard to imagine him winning back that Rust Belt. I don't see that happening. Maybe he could win Arizona or Georgia. That's a possibility. That's probably as good as it gets for Pence. His era has just passed him by, and his base is not a big fan of him anymore. He kind of just has a narrow type of appeal, and I do think Warren's appeal is a little bit broader. Pence, I think, would have a tough time beating most Democrats at this point, and Warren, I think it's kind of hit or miss. In a previous matchup, I did have Warren beating Cruz, and in another matchup, I did have Tim Scott very narrowly edging out a win over Elizabeth Warren. So maybe if I did this map in a couple of weeks, I would have changed a couple of these states. You never know how it's going to go, but this is how I think it would go right now. You could make a case for changing some margins, again in Florida. Maybe you want to take Iowa down to leans. Maybe you want to put Michigan to likely. Or maybe you want to flip Arizona, give that to Mike Pence. Plenty of different routes you could go, but it's hard to imagine Mike Pence winning this election, even if he picks the right running mate, even if it's a neutral national environment. Barring a collapse by Elizabeth Warren, a lot of scandals, a lot of mistakes, I do think Warren would win this election. But this is just what I think. Let me know in the comments. How do you think this matchup would go? Which states would you change? Let me know down below. On your way out, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I will see you on the next video.